The asphalt of my parents' driveway felt like a runway, and my 2010 Toyota Camry was the least impressive plane ever to land on it. I slotted it into the space between Marcus's blood-red Ferrari and Charlotte's gleaming Mercedes, a monument to sensible beige between two shrines to excess. Right on cue, the familiar tightness coiled in my chest. The annual Thompson dinner wasn't about connection, it was the family Olympics, and I was the perennial last-place finisher. Smoothing the folds of my simple Nordstrom dress, a far cry from Charlotte's bespoke silk, I grabbed my offering from the passenger seat, a bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild. $2,000 of liquid peace offering. A futile gesture, I knew. My jury had already reached a verdict the moment my decade-old Camry rolled into view. My mother's voice, sharp as a cocktail pick, pierced the evening air from the sprawling porch. "You're late, Tiffany. And you're still driving that thing." I painted on a smile. "Hi, Mom." Inside, the symphony of superiority was already in full swing. Charlotte held court in the living room, her wrist aloft so Cousin Marilyn could admire the cold sparkle of a new diamond bracelet. Across the room, Marcus's voice boomed about his hedge fund's obscene quarterly returns. Aunt Emily, perched like a hawk on a chaise lounge, sipped champagne and dispensed thinly veiled critiques. "Tiff the schmuck. You made it," Marcus bellowed, using the nickname that had stuck since I was 12. If only he knew the little startup I worked for was Thompson Tech Solutions, my company, currently valued at a cool $4.2 billion. But let them believe I was a mid-level IT drone. It suited their narrative. "Has that car not disintegrated into a pile of rust yet?" Charlotte asked, her tone dripping with faux sympathy. "I know a dealer, but honestly, you should probably run a credit check first. Just to be safe." I placed my wine bottle on the massive kitchen island. Before I could blink, my mother whisked it away and replaced it with a generic grocery store Cabernet. My Rothschild was exiled, destined for a mundane fate in one of her elaborate stews. "Tiffany is just practical," Mom announced to the room, sighing the word as if it were a chronic condition. I checked my phone. A notification confirmed our stock had jumped another 15% following the news of our latest acquisition. The $3.1 billion deal I'd spearheaded was hours from being public. My family would have collective apoplexy. "Did everyone hear?" My father's voice carried from the head of the table. "Charlotte's been promoted. Junior Vice President at Morgan Stanley. And Marcus closed a deal worth $50 million, Aunt Emily added, beaming. "Wow," I said, slipping into my designated seat. "Congratulations." Marilyn leaned in, the silk of her designer dress whispering. "It likely cost more than my entire family assumed I made in a month." "Sweet Tiffany," she murmured, patting my hand. "I have a wonderful financial advisor. It's never too early to start planning for a stable future." I bit the inside of my cheek, suppressing the smile that threatened to break free as I recalled the images from today's board meeting, the signed documents, the handshakes, the silent victory. "Thank you, Marilyn," I said, my voice perfectly calm. "I'll give it some thought." Dinner unfolded with the precision of a well-rehearsed play. Charlotte detailed the blinding whiteness of the Maldivian sand, while Marcus expounded on the square footage and smart home features of his new cottage in the Hamptons. My mother, the masterful conductor, guided the conversation from one solo performance to the next, ensuring each had their moment in the spotlight. My presence was the intermission, a quiet, overlooked pause. "Tiffany is trying," Mom offered to a polite inquiry from a distant aunt, her voice a mix of apology and resignation. I was the family's different one. Different because I chose a path of my own making, turning away from the gilded tracks of investment banking or law that every other Thompson had followed. I built something from nothing, living in quiet modesty while secretly constructing a technological empire. My worth wasn't sewn into a label or gleaming under a coat of automotive wax. "Well, at least tell us you're seeing someone with prospects," Aunt Emily nagged, swirling her wine. "You're not getting any younger, dear." I thought of Stephen, the brilliantly quiet engineer I'd been seeing for 6 months. They didn't know his series of discreet exits had netted him over $200 million. He, like me, found no music in the sound of his own boasts. I'm just focused on my work right now, I said, my tone even. Charlotte rolled her eyes so dramatically I feared they'd stick. Of course. Work. I still can't recall. What is it you actually do at that? What's it called? Thompson Tech. Stuff. Never heard of it, Marcus snorted, not looking up from his plate. Probably another little app startup. They'll be gone in a year. If he ever glanced beyond the financial section dedicated to his own ego, he'd know my company was consistently cited as the disruptor rewriting the rules of cloud architecture. We'd been featured in Forbes 3 times this year alone. Speaking of work, Charlotte said, her voice lifting to reclaim the room's attention. Guess who just qualified for Morgan Stanley's exclusive executive car program? I'm thinking a Bentley Continental or maybe a Rolls-Royce. Tiffany, Marilyn interjected, her head tilted with faux curiosity. Why did you choose a Toyota? Is it for the excellent safety ratings? A wave of condescending laughter traveled around the table. I didn't flinch. Let them believe the Camry was a testament to my limited means. Let them think I had no money. I knew every dollar they imagined I lacked was invested, multiplying in the foundations of my empire. The Camry is reliable, I said simply. Oh, sweetheart, my mother sighed, a sound heavy with pity. Your father, and I could always help with a down payment for something more appropriate. For a Thompson. I took a slow sip of the generic Cabernet, the ghost of my Rothschild lingering on my palate. I mentally walked through the hallways of my 3 homes, owned outright. The Malibu beach house alone was worth more than the combined value of every luxury car in this driveway. Thank you, Mom. But I'm perfectly fine. How are you? Charlotte wouldn't let it go. She gave me a sweeping, dismissive glance. But look at you, Tiffany. Your dress, your car, everything. Don't you ever want more? I thought of the company valuation blinking on my private dashboard, the thousands of employees on our payroll, the proprietary technology shifting paradigms in medicine and logistics. A deep, unshakable contentment settled in my chest. Marcus caught my expression and smirked into his crystal glass. So smug in your mediocrity, he muttered, just loud enough for me to hear. Classic you. The predictable rhythm of the dinner was shattered by the precise vibration of my phone against the polished mahogany. Madison's name glowed on the screen, my chief of staff, whose professionalism meant a call now signified a fire only I could put out. Excuse me, I said, pushing my chair back. I need to take this. Really, Tiffany? My mother's frown was a masterpiece of disapproval. Must you? It's incredibly rude. I was already moving into the hallway, a dozen judgmental stares prickling between my shoulder blades. Madison. What's the situation? My apologies, Miss Thompson, for the intrusion. Her voice was all business. We require your digital signature immediately. The technical team in Dubai cannot proceed with the mandatory avionics update on the G650 without your authorization. Without it, the Singapore departure next week will be grounded. In my periphery, I saw Charlotte crane her neck, straining to catch snippets. Aircraft, she hissed to Marilyn, a derisive smirk twisting her lips. Probably some same-day shipping logistics. How quaint. If she only knew. That logistics issue involved the leather-lined cabin of my Gulfstream. Authorize the update, I said, my voice clear and steady in the quiet hall. And instruct the captain to file a revised flight plan with a stop in Tokyo. I have that meeting with the Senko investors. A sudden, thick silence bled from the dining room. Even Marcus's booming narrative about his latest $1 million trade cut off mid-boast. There's also, Madison continued, a confirmation required. Mr. Chen from the board needs your final yes for your participation in tomorrow's press conference to announce the acquisition. Confirmed. And tell the PR team to finalize the press release detailing the $3.1 billion purchase. I want it ready the moment the markets close. The sharp, crystalline sound of glass shattering punctuated my sentence. I glanced back to see Charlotte clutching her empty stem, a dark burgundy stain blooming like a wound across the front of her designer dress. That's all for now, Madison. One final item, ma'am. The editor at Forbes is on standby. They're ready to update your profile for the 40 under 40 list with the new net worth figures. Should we release the numbers preemptively or wait for the acquisition announcement to become official? I walked back to the table, the weight of a stunned silence pressing against me. My family stared as if I'd materialized from another dimension. My mother was frozen, a forkful of asparagus hovering in a state of arrested motion. Marcus's face was wiped clean of its trademark smugness. Marilyn's fingers were a frantic blur over her phone screen, no doubt searching for Thompson Tech Solutions. Tiffany. My father's voice was the first to break the spell, low and strained. What was that about, an aircraft? I settled into my seat, picked up my wine glass, and took a deliberate, slow sip. A smile, one I had rehearsed in my mind for years, finally found its rightful place on my lips. Oh, that, I said, the words hanging in the rapt quiet. I'll need to excuse myself early tonight. The jet has a rather tight schedule, and it won't wait. The silence that followed wasn't merely an absence of sound. It was a physical force, brittle and sharp enough to score the fine china. Charlotte stared at the ruin of her dress, the dark stains spreading like a verdict. Her head snapped up, eyes wide with furious denial. You're lying, she spat, the words a brittle crack in the quiet. This is some pathetic, orchestrated prank. Without a word, I navigated to the Bloomberg app on my phone. I turned the screen outward, a digital banner held before them. The data was unambiguous. Thompson Tech Solutions, TTS, market cap for $0.2 billion. Founder and CEO, Tiffany Thompson. I placed the phone gently on the tablecloth, the glowing screen a silent witness. Verify it yourself. Marcus snatched the device, his fingers trembling against the cool glass. His eyes darted across the figures, his face draining of color. This is fake. This can't be real. You're a nobody. You drive a Camry. Because I choose to, I replied, my voice a flat calm against his sputtering rage. Unlike some, I don't require a $250,000 hood ornament to validate my existence. Marilyn's frantic scrolling hit a paydirt. A sharp, choked gasp escaped her. Oh my God, she whispered, her voice hushed with awe and horror. She's not lying. It's all here. Forbes 30 under 30. A CNBC interview from March. There are articles. With her picture. My mother's complexion turned ashen. Her hand fluttered to her throat. Tiffany, why? Why wouldn't you tell us? Would it have changed anything? I asked, the question hanging in the air, simple and devastating. For years, you've all curated this narrative where I don't exist. Every dinner is a showcase for Charlotte's latest title or Marcus's latest deal. His little hedge fund. Little. Marcus barked, slamming my phone down. I manage $50 million in assets. I couldn't stifle a soft, genuine laugh. Cute. I authorized employee bonus pools last week that totaled over $100 million. In one afternoon. My father cleared his throat, the sound rough. I could see the gears turning behind his eyes, the quick recalculation of my utility. Princess, he began, his voice adopting a wheedling, conciliatory tone I knew well. Now that we're all aware of your position, surely we can discuss how to integrate this. There are fascinating investment synergies. I am not your princess, I cut him off, my voice sharp enough to slice through his proposal. You revoked that title the day you called me a family disgrace for choosing to build something instead of taking a nameless desk at Morgan Stanley like Charlotte. Charlotte physically recoiled as if struck. She remembered. She had sat in her perfect posture, offering a small, complicit smile as he listed my failures. But we're family, my mother implored, her voice thin and reedy. We support each other. Really? I arched a single eyebrow. Like when you wrote a check for Charlotte's Mercedes convertible, but told me financial discipline was a virtue. Or when you provided the seed capital for Marcus's vision, while you called my business plan a silly fantasy. Aunt Emily, ever the social climber, jolted to life, her eyes gleaming with new, predatory interest. Darling, this changes everything. You simply must join the Glen Oaks Country Club. I'd be honored to put your name forward personally. You mean the club whose membership committee unanimously rejected my application last year? I asked, a cold smile touching my lips. The chairman told my assistant their atmosphere might not suit someone of my current standing. I let the memory linger for a beat. I bought Glen Oaks last month. The membership committee hasn't been informed yet. I'm considering dissolving it. This time, the sound of clinking crystal came from Marcus's direction, his glass knocking against his plate as his hand shook. A discreet vibration buzzed against the table. A text from Steven lit up the screen, extraction details standing by. Switch to the Aston. A small, private smile touched my lips as I typed my reply, negative. The Camry is mission essential tonight. All proceeding per plan. Tiffany. Charlotte's voice had transformed, adopting the cloying, honeyed tone she reserved for wealthy benefactors and headwaiters at exclusive restaurants. I've actually been contemplating a career pivot. Morgan Stanley feels so stiflingly corporate. Perhaps you might have an opening for a strategic advisor? Someone with my network and perspective. I let the smirk I'd been holding back finally surface. In that little startup? I asked, echoing Marcus's words with precise, cool emphasis. The one that was supposed to be gone in a year? I'm afraid we're fully staffed. We're rather selective about cultural fit. Marilyn, seeking to regain some footing, leaned forward with a pinched expression. You've always been so calculating, Tiffany. Haven't you? I met her gaze directly. Name one programming language. She opened her mouth, then closed it, her eyes dropping to her lap in immediate defeat. My mother was still stuck in the initial shockwave, her mind circling the superficial. But your clothes, your car, that apartment in the city, it's all so plain. It's my choice, I stated, finality in every syllable. I could acquire this property before your dessert plates are cleared. I could have any vehicle delivered here tomorrow. But I don't measure my life in trophies. Some of us build legacies instead of collections. How much? My father's question was stripped bare of pretense, the businessman overriding the father. What's the number? I rose from my chair, smoothing the simple lines of my dress, a gesture of composed finality. I looked at each of them in turn. My net worth exceeds the sum total of everyone at this table. And not by a margin. By a multiple. As if on cue, my phone vibrated once more. Madison. I put it on speaker. Yes, Madison? The motorcade is ready at your location, Miss Thompson. The full board is assembled via secure link and awaiting your arrival to commence the Singapore strategy session. Thank you. I'm en route. I ended the call and slid the phone into my bag, a deceptively simple leather piece that had cost more than Charlotte's entire seasonal handbag portfolio. This has been illuminating, I said, addressing the tableau of stunned faces. But I have a company to govern. Wait. Charlotte shrieked, the syrup gone, replaced by raw panic. You can't just drop a bombshell and walk out. Why not? It's the role you've cast me in for years, the walk-on part, easy to ignore. I adjusted the strap on my shoulder. Oh, and Mom? That bottle of wine you exiled to the kitchen shelf? Its value exceeds Marcus's monthly management fees. Consider it a parting gift. I was halfway to the grand foyer when my father's voice boomed, an attempt to reclaim authority. Tiffany, be rational. We are a family. We need to sit down and discuss a cohesive way forward. I stopped and turned. The distance between us felt vast and earned. The time for a family discussion was a decade ago, when I needed allies, not critics. I required support, not scorn. I need nothing from you now. But you're our flesh and blood, my mother cried out, a tear tracing a path through her powder. Blood is a circumstance, not an excuse, I said, my voice quiet but carrying the weight of the silence. You each made an active choice every single day in how you treated me. Now you have the privilege of living with the consequences of that choice. The cool night air outside was a balm. My Camry sat patiently under a street lamp, its familiar lines a symbol of quiet integrity amidst the opulent chaos of the driveway. From the house, the sounds of a shattered narrative spilled out, Charlotte's shrill, disbelieving cries, Marcus's guttural outbursts, the frantic tap-tap-tapping as Marilyn no doubt scoured every corner of the internet for proof of my existence. Just as my hand touched the car door, my mother's voice, breathless and pleading, cut through the dark. Tiffany. Wait. Please, we can start over. A clean slate. I didn't pause. I didn't turn. I simply got in, started the reliable engine, and drove away, the house of judgment shrinking in my rearview mirror. The digital onslaught began at dawn. My phone lit up with a cascade of notifications, each a masterpiece of revisionist history. Charlotte, hi sis. Been thinking about old times. Remember how I helped you polish those college essays? Smiley face emoji. Let's do a long overdue lunch. Heart emoji. Marcus, Tiff. Have some killer intel on a FinEc play that's perfect for your portfolio. Call me. Marilyn, Tiffany. Saw TTS is expanding the dev team. I'd love to pick your brain over coffee. So inspiring. The emails were more formal, but equally transparent. Mom, dearest Tiffany, my heart aches for the warmth we've lost. I long to create new memories, just as girls. Your mother. Dad, Princess, your accomplishment is a Thompson legacy. We should strategize on integrating this remarkable chapter into our family's narrative. Let's meet. With detached efficiency, I selected the entire thread, the texts, the emails, and forwarded them to Madison with a 2-word directive: block all. The world, however, was eager for a different story. At the press conference in a sleek downtown tower, the air buzzed with the energy of the $3.1 billion announcement. After the technical questions, a young reporter raised her hand. Ms. Thompson, your personal demeanor is strikingly at odds with the scale of your success. In a world of flashy billionaires, how do you remain so grounded? I looked toward the cameras, thinking of a beige Camry in a driveway of exotics. Because success isn't a trophy you own, I said. It's a foundation you build. It's not about what you have, but what you create with it. The headlines the next morning were a vindication I hadn't sought but appreciated. The secret billionaire next door, and the Camry CEO, tech titan, shuns the spotlight. The family's campaign shifted into its next, predictable phase. Charlotte's texts turned saccharine. I always saw your spark, sis. Remember my old Chanel blazer you loved? You have such timeless style. I remembered the blazer. I also remembered her asking, with faux concern, if I needed bus fare. Marcus, bypassing me entirely, attempted a Hail Mary pitch to my CFO and head of mergers. His poorly disguised synergy proposal was algorithmically flagged and funneled directly into spam purgatory. My mother underwent a sudden, very public philanthropic awakening, chairing galas for grassroots innovation and giving interviews about fostering the underdog. At every social event, she now name-drops my daughter Tiffany, the CEO of Thompson Tech, with rehearsed casualness. My father, in his boardrooms and on the golf course, speaks of my vision with a proprietary air, claiming a paternal role in nurturing my risk-taking spirit. Those in his circle who know the true history, the dismissals, the scorn, merely offer tight, polite smiles and change the subject. The silence of their knowledge is louder than his boasts. Precisely 1 lunar cycle after the dinner, a thick, cream-colored envelope arrived at my office. It was an invitation to the Thompson Family Foundation's annual charity gala. A handwritten note on monogram stationery was paperclipped to the front: Guest of Honor, Tiffany Thompson, tech visionary and philanthropist. I dictated a reply to Madison: please convey my regrets. Prior commitments in Singapore preclude my attendance. That weekend, I was, in fact, in the city. I spent it in the quiet, sun-drenched expanse of my penthouse office, architecting the next phase of growth, while across town they would undoubtedly be posing for photos, my mother's arm linked through the empty space where I should have been. A monument to their fabricated faith. Charlotte, ever the opportunist, gave a glowing interview to the Financial District Quarterly. I've always been her biggest cheerleader, she was quoted as saying. Seeing her spark as a girl, I knew I had to nurture it. Her success is a testament to family inspiration. Marcus, at his usual haunts, spun tales of our fictional childhood bond, of how we were thick as thieves and shared a natural business acumen. The truth was simpler and colder. They didn't inspire my ambition, they became its fuel. My entire drive was crystallized into one pure objective: to succeed in spite of them. Then, the universe began to issue its own corrections. Last week, Charlotte was part of a strategic downsizing at Morgan Stanley. By morning, her resume, polished to a high gloss, landed in my inbox with a single, plaintive line: family is everything, right? Smiling face emoji. Marcus's little hedge fund hemorrhaged its anchor investor. He somehow procured the calendar links for my head of strategic investments, flooding her with meeting requests titled Familial Capital Alignment. Marilyn's husband's boutique marketing firm shuddered. Her LinkedIn transformed into a stream of saccharine affirmations about unbreakable bonds and what truly matters. I ignored it all. The digital noise was a distant static against the real work, scaling the company, pushing the boundaries of our new quantum encryption platform, approving plans for a campus that would create 2,000 new jobs. And my Camry remained. It sat in its reserved spot, a steadfast monument of beige steel between a snarling Maserati and a stately Bentley. The employees had claimed it as an icon. A meme even circulated internally, a picture of the car with the caption T2S culture, performance. No performative. It symbolized a truth we all understood, substance over show. Yesterday, passing the breakout lounge, I overheard two new hires, fresh from Stanford. Wait, for real? She drives a 2010 Camry. Dude, yes. And I heard she lives in a 3-bedroom in the village. No staff, no private chef. I don't get it. Why? The answer came, simple and profound. Because her validation comes from the codebase, not the car lot. She has absolutely nothing to prove. They understood. The people who mattered did. My family? They never would. This morning's mail brought another envelope from my mother's address. The card inside was elegant, the script flowing. Darling Tiffany, I've taken a sommelier course. Finally learned how to properly cellar a fine wine. Dinner Saturday? We'll open something spectacular. Love, Mom. I looked at the card. Then at the secure climate-controlled cabinet in my office, where a few sentimental bottles were kept. One, in particular, had been waiting for its moment. I had my assistant retrieve it and arrange for a same-day, signature-required courier. The package arrived at my parents' estate that afternoon. Inside, cushioned in black velvet, was the bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild, the one she had exiled to her kitchen shelf a lifetime ago. Tied to its neck with a simple ribbon was a card, bearing only my handwritten note, "For your kitchen shelf." They say this vintage pairs exquisitely with rejection letters. The gesture wasn't anger. It was closure, served at the perfect temperature. I've come to realize something. Ultimate success isn't the dramatic act of proving your detractors wrong. It's the quieter, more profound act of proving yourself right on your own terms, for your own satisfaction. And the most potent revenge isn't a grand spectacle of what they can no longer have. It's the serene reality of your life, shining like a city on a hill, visible to them but forever out of reach. They can watch, they can covet, they can pretend, but the gates are closed. As for me, I gathered my tablet and notes, rode the elevator down, and walked across the sun-dappled parking lot. My Camry greeted me with familiar, unassuming reliability. I slid inside, the well-worn seat a comfort. The engine purred to life. I was driving to preside over a board meeting where the central agenda item was a $5 billion global expansion. The numbers were staggering, the vision bold. As I merged into traffic, a thought occurred to me. I'd have Madison send the press release to my family's various email addresses once the news broke. After all, they've always preferred to learn about my life from the headlines. It seems only fitting they continue to do so. The end.